We've started the recording, sir.
Okay. ॐ यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तं हदेवम् आत्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Okay, so we are resuming after a break of about a week, or rather 2 weeks. So actually, I wanted to have a short round of feedback before I moved on. So, compared to what I expected, attendance is a little thin today, so very thin. Nevertheless, I'll go around and ask. This is the 24th session that we are having. So 2 weeks back, the session we had was the 23rd session. I'm sure many of you have been attending these past sessions more or less regularly. Maybe you miss one or two in between. I just wanted to ask you all about what you have learned in all these various sessions, whether it made any difference to you in your life, whether you were successful in to practice this or that or some other aspect of what you learned. So can we just quickly go around? Maybe we'll start with Deepa ma'am.
Yes, sir. Sorry, you might hear my daughter's voice in between,
That's
so
okay.
excuse
That's
me for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, since I think the last couple of weeks I was not able to join because of my baby, but overall it has been a very good experience. Since how do I say, in my 20s, I always used to wonder, I want to learn about what is life, what is the purpose of life, what is karma. These thoughts were always there. And
Mhm.
as you know, YouTube and these all things are there to get small knowledge which we don't know whether it is correct or wrong. So
Okay.
your sessions really helped me to understand. I would not say I'm still there, but it's a everyday process where you come across what you said. Then you realize, okay, this is means like this. Or for example, when you get angry personally for some
Mhm.
reason, or you
Okay.
have sometimes a feeling of jealousy. Let's take an example. So then
Mhm.
you reflect. Of course, it doesn't happen instantly, but then even after a fight or an argument, you come
Mhm.
back to when I'm with myself. I
Mhm.
think about it, like
Yeah.
why did this happen? What have we
Mhm.
learned?
Mhm.
It's sometimes difficult to find answers easily, but then
Mhm.
I try to go through your sessions to see there may be somewhere in my notes or in your audios where I could come to some answer. So it has
Oh,
been a learning process, and it's really nice. Sometimes, of course, I get lost
mhm.
because the topic itself is very vast,
Okay.
but it's a learning process, and I really thankful to you, sir, for presenting us. And I would like to continue these sessions
Thank
as you
you.
had asked last time.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm blessed for having like-minded people. So, Shvetambri ma'am, your views, thoughts?
Yes, and namaskar, sir. For me, also, it has been equally beneficial. Mm, like Deepa said, I also in my childhood heard lot many stories, and there were always some conceptions of what is karma and what is our life and what is the purpose and how our life is in Sanatan Dharma. It's cyclical. The time is always cyclical, and we will have rebirths and why we have rebirths. Now, with your session, I got the real insight of how everything works and what kind of the questions that I had were basically answered by your sessions. And I'm also not still there, but I try to inculcate those values in my next generation as well. I try to simplify it for them, and I try to give it further, and that has been a kind of a purpose for me also, why I am learning these sessions and what will go ahead of me in future generation.
Mhm.
That's why it's very helpful for me. I would like to continue these sessions, and so many of the doubts that I had, they are cleared, but still I have so many doubts, and I will ask them time and again when I come
Mhm.
across them.
Okay.
Thank you
Now,
very much.
both of you mentioned about your questions getting answered, but beyond the questions getting answered, did you try to put into practice any of what you learned in these 23 sessions? Has there been some, shall we say, effort in that direction?
Yes, I'll talk for myself. The efforts I have already started. The way you told us to keep a track record, how easily you get angry, or how you can
Okay.
control your anger.
FIR,
That
huh?
yes, yes.
FIR, okay. Mm.
FIR. I did that. I for 2 3 weeks I maintained that log in how many minutes or in how many hours I take time to actually control myself or control my anger,
Mhm.
and I think the efforts are being fruitful. Now I see the change in myself. Then I feel yes. Basically, I'm not that impatient. I always have patience, but I some trigger points are always there which will make you angry and then
Mhm.
you have to control yourself. Those
Okay.
hard situations, I gave my efforts, and I
Mhm.
will say I'm not there 100%, but yes, I have seen the change in myself
That's good.
since
That's
since
very good.
our session. I think it's been now almost 4 5 months, I think. So in these last 4 months I've meditated a lot. I have tried
Mhm.
the way you said, take one word. I don't remember the shloka, but I try to remember the words, and then I contemplate on that word, I meditate on that word,
Yeah.
and that has helped me a lot. That has
Uh,
actually helped me a lot to control my emotions in the sense, basically the anger, the
okay.
main focus was on anger, and I
Mhm.
was able to control it in some other way. It
Yeah.
took a little bit of time, but I am trying to reach there. So that is one. And the other, that the knowledge itself of Brahman has broadened my perspective.
Mhm.
I Every time I think of some situations which has been stressful or which has been not to my liking, then I always try to contemplate, okay, this is the situation. If, even though it is so
Mhm.
difficult to understand, but there is some bigger design in it, and we have
Mhm.
to accept some things. The way
Okay.
you said, you have to own it up. So now
Sure.
I'm trying to get myself into that direction and align myself in owning up this knowledge.
Okay. Great.
Thank you very
Wonderful.
much.
Any views, Deepaji, like what Shvetambari ma'am said?
Yes, sir. I am trying to implement it, but it's not easy, especially
Mhm.
for me because I just became a mother in between our sessions when it was going.
Oh, okay.
So now my
Congratulations.
daughter is 4.5. So,
Congratulations.
it was more of thinking for me when I used to see her also initially, to be very, very honest, as to think there's a life now. So I
Mhm.
used to think about what you told in the initial sessions, that you
Mhm.
come with some karmas.
Mhm.
You have that. There is some connection between us. So all these things, it was more of what you
Mhm.
said to see in reality or think about it more
Okay.
than me implementing things. It was very difficult for me, but I
Okay.
used to think backside like, yes,
Mhm.
this is a full circle, we are all one.
Okay.
So this was more for me learning phase than me doing or implementing what you told. Sorry
Okay.
for that.
No, that's okay. Yashaswini ji, you probably have something to say. I think Yashaswini, right? I got your name right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right. Yeah, I mean, similar to what Shwetamari and Deepa said, it's been helpful for me. I also actually, I also listen to your recordings, and not only of this session, but also of Vivek Chudamani. I have
Mhm.
listened to the recordings.
Mhm.
Um, not I have not reached the ones that you are going to cover later. I was listening from the beginning.
Mhm.
So this also helps. I kind of do it on a daily basis,
Mhm.
but and that helps. It's helped to calm me down quite a lot.
Okay.
In the sense,
Right.
if it's helped to kind of discriminate or distinguish what's important and what's not.
Okay. Great. So Rahul ji, you want to say anything?
No, sir, I'm just a small fish in the big ocean, and uh, being here itself is a delight. I'm learning a few things I still need to catch up, but
Okay.
it's
Right.
wonderful experience for me.
Thank you. Okay. So Shubhu ji has joined. She's one of the regulars. So I thought I'll repeat the question for her benefit. So, ma'am, please could you unmute yourself? Buddha.
I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Hi.
Yes,
So
hello.
I was kind of trying to get some feedback from all the participants.
Okay.
How useful these past sessions have been. Have you learned something? Have you tried to put something to practice? So I was trying to get some idea because today is the 24th session, and I thought before taking the plunge further, I should take some kind of feedback from the regular participants. So, could you say something?
I'm sorry, I had been on vacation in India also to do some work, finish off some work, and that's why I hadn't been on for the last 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
find the sessions very very inspiring, and even if I'm not completely focused sometimes, because
Mhm.
on the way back from work or whatever,
Mhm.
it is always a great pleasure to connect spiritually for me. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Great.
must say.
Oh,
I
right.
can't say that I have a great deal more knowledge because of that, but I wish I did. I wish I did, and I think it is a slow process.
Mhm.
And I
Okay.
I really enjoy the sessions. I really do.
Great. Yeah. I mean, enjoying is one thing, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to know at a learning level, has it been useful? Has it provided any kind of guidance in your day-to-day activities? That is
It
probably
it
what.
has provided guidance in meditating capabilities. Let's
Okay.
say, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I
Right.
still lack the focus to do it on a religiously on a regular basis,
Hmm.
but I am on my way.
Okay. Good. So
Yeah,
good luck. So
yeah.
I also
Thank you.
see some first-time joiners. I think there is one Harini Kannan, there is one Bharadwaj, there is one Chitra Subramaniam. Uh, so I think you all joined for the first time. I think you probably joined the Parayanam group
Yeah,
very recently.
yes, sir.
And so I will share on the chat,
Okay,
uh, WhatsApp chat, the place where you can find all the previous recordings of the 23 sessions.
okay,
So
sir.
you may want to go through the recordings and perhaps benefit from it. Otherwise, what we have been doing in the last sessions is to do some crash course on Vedanta, especially Advaita Vedanta, and then try to understand some of the texts, traditional texts. So I did a very quick review of some chapters from Bhagavad Gita, not the entire Bhagavad Gita, not in systematic manner, but quickly, summary wise, I covered some 5 or 6 chapters. And then I had taken up Viveka Chudamani, a text from Adi Shankaracharya, and that
Okay,
too not from the beginning, again, not systematic. I plunged into the middle of Vivek Chudamani, where there are shlokas which connect us with Nididhyasanam. So that's a Nididhyasanam is a part of Jnana Yoga where you try to revise the teachings that one has learned. Okay, so since you people have joined somewhere in the middle, you probably need to go through the past recordings and catch up with the rest of the audience, but that should not stop you from understanding the session going forward and also benefit from it. So with that very short intro, I will go to the text Viveka Chudamani again. We had originally covered shloka number 254 to 263, and then we had a break for a week. And so what I think I'll do is I'll do from 264 onwards, and let me try to share that link. So that in case you want the text, you can okay, so let me share that text. So there's a Google Drive link, and you can click on that and get the text. If you can't read Sanskrit, then you probably have to go to the internet and download a text in whatever language you are comfortable. So the text I've shared is a Sanskrit text. That's the original. Okay, so I'll share my screen. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. Can you? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I will switch off my video so that the bandwidth. Oh, how do I? Oh my God. Okay, I'll stop my video and yeah, great. 264 Uktamartham imam atmani swayam bhavayet prathita yuktibhirdhiya samshayadi rahitam karambuvat tena tattva nigamo bhavishyati. Uktam artham imam atmani swayam bhavayet prathita yuktibhirdhiya samshayadi rahitam karambuvat tena tattva nigamo bhavishyati. So Uktam means what has been stated before. So it refers to the earlier 10 shlokas from 254 to 263. Uktam has been explained. Artham imam atmani swayam. Imam, artham is the truth. Artham, normally we say meaning, but in this context, the word artham means the truth. Imam atmani. Atma is one's own true nature. So all that has been explained in the last 10 shlokas is the true nature of our Atma, our self. Then Swayam Bhavayet Prathita Yuktibhirdhiya. So that teaching that has been presented in the past 10 shlokas has to be internalized. Bhavayet here means to meditate upon, to keep in your mind, to anchor in your mind, and not as some kind of a pill that some doctor prescribed, but by understanding and getting convinced about the truth. So you have to understand and be convinced of the truth. If you are not convinced about the truth, it will become a doubtful knowledge, and that doubtful knowledge is never helpful. So the knowledge that you acquire has to be free from any doubt. So my Guruji says, you have to know what is right what is wrong, why right is right, and why wrong is wrong. So it's not enough if you know this is right and this is wrong. You should also know why that right is right and why this wrong is wrong. That is what is called checkless knowledge, complete knowledge. So this prathita yukti bhihi means by employing appropriate logic. The word yukti means logic, reasoning. And dhiya means using one's intellect. The intellect is important because if you cannot convince your intellect, the intellect will keep raising questions and doubts again and again. So you have to answer all questions before you are totally convinced. So that is the level of, the strong foundation that the knowledge must have. Okay. Then samshayadi rahitam. That knowledge should be free from all doubts. Samshayam is doubt. Samshayadi rahitam is free from doubts. Okay. Karambuvat. Kara ambu means you open your palm and put some droplets of water in the palm. You don't need any, great explanation about the water. You see the water, you feel the water, you know what color it is, you know what shape it is. And, if you put it in your mouth, it will also tell you what taste it is. So just like you know the droplets of water in your hand, the knowledge should be so clear to you. That is karambuvati. Tena tattva nigamo bhavishyati. By adopting this process, the person becomes a scholarly, knowledgeable, well-informed, wise person. Tattva nigamaha means one who is strong in this adhyatma vidya. This is called adhyatma vidya. This whole prakaranam is called adhyatma vidya, which is self-knowledge, brahma vidya. So the person can become an expert in adhyatma vidya. So that is 264. Okay. Any questions? No doubts, no questions? Right. We'll go to 260.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said that it's not only important to know that you are what is correct, but it's important to know why it is correct.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
why is that important?
Otherwise, if somebody gives you a counter argument, then your knowledge will get shaken. The knowledge should be so strong that anybody who gives you a counter argument and tries to prove you wrong, you should be able to ward it off. Otherwise, what you know today can be proven to be wrong tomorrow by somebody, even though what you know was right, but you got carried away by his arguments. You get what I'm saying?
Gee, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because today we are in the field of proving somebody right or wrong, and there are a lot of people around who tell you are wrong, and they will give you 100 arguments. So you have to have an answer, counter answer for all those 100 arguments to show why their argument is wrong and why yours is right. So that is what strengthens your knowledge, and that is what is called knowledge with conviction. So without that conviction, that knowledge is kind of shaky.
What happens if I found out that what I know is wrong?
Well, if you are convinced that it is wrong, you have to drop it.
Okay.
Yeah, because see, ultimately, what is knowledge? If there is an elephant standing in front of you, to recognize the elephant as an elephant is knowledge. Okay.
Correct.
If you are facing an elephant and you think it's a rat, then there is a problem either with your eyes or with your mind. Okay.
Correct.
So that is what is truth. That is what is knowledge. So if somebody says 2 plus 2 is 7, you have to say no, 2 plus 2 is not 7, 2 plus 2 is 4. If you are convinced that 2 plus 2 is 4, that is knowledge. And it is not knowledge just because you are convinced, that it is knowledge because that is the truth. It is the truth and you are convinced. Both have a role. But if you have been brought up with the idea that 2 plus 2 is 7, then somebody comes and tell you 2 plus 2 is not 7, but 2 plus 2 is 4, You recognize you had the wrong knowledge or wrong notion all these times. There is no wrong knowledge. That's what is called oxymoron. Knowledge is always true. If you have something wrong, it is notion. You have a wrong notion and you have a right knowledge. Okay, so nobody can have wrong knowledge. You might have wrong information. That's a different story. You can have wrong information, but you cannot have wrong knowledge. Knowledge is always right, because that is truth.
Got it. Got it. I have a question. So a lot of times different buddhijeevis from different at different times have said this. What I'm going to say, I'm basically paraphrasing it. It. So they say that good people are always in doubt because they don't know what they're doing is correct or wrong, or they always question themselves. And the bad people are always confident about their actions because they know that what they're going to do is wrong, and still they are willing to do it.
See, that statement is in the context of their actions. There are two realms actually. There is a realm of knowledge and there is a realm of action. In a given situation, what course of action you take, there you have a lot of conflicts, and that is why the good people have these doubts, because they are not very sure if this is the right action to be taken, which will have a good long-term consequence or not. Okay, it is not the lack of knowledge per se. Okay, are you able to make a distinction?
Yes, now I'm able to make a distinction.
Yeah, let example, a very practical situation that Germany is facing. Some 7 years back or 8 years back, somewhere the government decided to open the borders and let a lot of people in. Okay, that was an action, and the people who initiated that action, they were very sure that this is the right thing to do. Okay, so that's a classic example of the bad people being 100% sure of what they are doing. And today the society is facing the consequences of that action. Whereas if the government had good people at that time, they would have had 100 thoughts before opening up the borders. This is a very simple example that everybody in this group can understand.
Got it. Dhanyavad.
Okay, sir. Right. 265. Right. Sambodha matram parishuddha tattvam vignaya sanghe nripavaccha sainye tadashrayah swatmani sarvada sthito vilapaya brahmani vishwajatam. Sambodha matram parishuddha tattvam vignaya sanghe nripavaccha sainye tadashrayah swatmani sarvada sthito vilapaya brahmani vishwajatam. So, sambodha matram parishuddha tattvam vignaya. So that vignaya means after having learned, or by learning. You can have both. Vignaya is a verb. Vignatum means to know. So vignaya, by knowing. What do you know? Sambodha matram. Sambodha, the word bodha means knowledge, and here the word or bodha is synonymous with jnanam. And normally jnanam means knowledge, but here jnanam does not mean knowledge, it means awareness or consciousness. So sambodha matram means that which is pure consciousness. The word sam means complete. Samyak. Sambodham is samyak bodham. That is the consciousness. Chaitanya swarupam. That is the meaning. Sambodha matram really means Chaitanya Swarupam, that which is essentially pure consciousness. And Parishuddha Tattvam. Parishuddha Tattvam means the pure one. pure one, and the tattvam also means reality, the pure reality. So consciousness is the only true existing entity. There is no second entity which can pollute it and mix with it. So that is why it is parishuddham. So the word parishuddham means it is unpolluted, uncontaminated by anything else. Okay, that tattvam, that truth, vijnaya, having realized that. And how do you realize that? The example given is nripavat cha sainye. So nripa means the king, sainyam is the army. So the example given is that of a battlefield where there is an army and the army is being led by the king. Now, normally in an army, all the soldiers are wearing a uniform and all of them have almost the same identical uniform with the same identical weapons and all that. So you can see hundreds or thousands of soldiers, but the king will look distinctly different. The weapon that the king carries, the chariot or the vehicle in which the king travels, the dress he wears and all that, it will, you can very clearly see who is the king and who are the soldiers. So exactly like that, in this world, in this creation, which is basically matter, made of dead matter, Chaitanyam, Brahman, consciousness is the only living entity, and you can easily identify the living entity, consciousness, among all the inert matter. So that is the example the Acharya is giving here. Just like how you can identify the king in the battlefield among all the soldiers, one can identify the Chaitanyam, the consciousness, among all the non-living dead matter. Okay. Then tad ashrayaha swatmani sarvada sthito. Then after having identified that vijnaya is continued with the tadashraya, having known the consciousness, having known the Chaitanyam, keep that as your support. Tadashraya means keeping that as your support, as your shelter. That means you do not lose sight of the fact that your true nature is Chaitanya Swarupam. That should be at the core of your thought process in all your waking hours. We give an example here. If you have all been to music concerts, especially the classical music concerts, there will be one tampura, or what we call in Tamil Shruti Potti. There is a Shruti box which will always keep giving you the sapasa. No, that will give you the bass octave, and whatever raga that the musician may be playing, he always have that sapasa, tampura, shruti at the back of his head. In all his ragas, he will keep this sapasa in his mind. He will not miss that shruti. So this aham brahmasmi knowledge has to be something like your tambura shruti for a musician. That is the tad ashraya. By always remaining under the shelter of that knowledge, swatmani sarvada sthitaha, being anchored in that knowledge. That tadashraya is explained by the swatmani sarvada sthitaha, being anchored in one's true swarupam, one's true nature. Then do what? Vilapaya brahmani vishwajatam. Vishwajatam, jatam means the creation, because the creation is something that has a birth. Jatam means that which is born, and the word jatam here means the creation. Vishwajatam means the entire creation. The entire creation, what do you do? Vilapaya. Vilapaya means to dissolve. And dissolve does not mean physically dissolve, but to intellectually dissolve. In what? In Brahmani. In Brahman. Because Brahman is the source of the whole creation. We always give this example. When you see a pot, you realize that you are only seeing clay. Pot is nothing but clay with a certain name and form. Similarly, when you see an ornament, golden ornament, you know that it is made of gold only. Ornament is nothing but gold given to a name and form. Similarly, when you dissolve a pot, it means you understand that the pot is not different from clay. Or when you dissolve the ornament, you understand that the ornament is not different from gold. In exactly the same way, you dissolve the world, meaning you understand that the world is not different from Brahman, the consciousness. That is, Vilapaya Brahmani Vishwajatam. You dissolve the whole creation into Brahman. And finally, what? Brahman. Brahman is nothing but your true nature. Brahman is not some third entity sitting somewhere in some corner of the creation. Brahman is your true nature. Your Atma Swarupam is Brahman. So everything gets dissolved in you. There is a Upanishad called Kaivalya Upanishad. In that Upanishad, there is a mantra that says, Mayeva Sakalam Jatam, Mai Sarvam Pratishtitam, Mai Sarvam Layam Yati, Tad Brahmadvayam Asmiham. Mayeva Sakalam Jatam, everything in this creation has emanated from me. It has been born out of me. Mai Sarvam Pratishtitam. All this creation is resting on me. Mai Sarvam Layam Yati. When Pralayam comes, they all contract into me. Tad Brahmadvayam Asmiham. That one without a second. Advayam is one without a second. That Brahman, which is one without a second, is my true nature. That is the mantra from Kaivalya Upanishad. So this is another, mantra which can be used for Nididhyasanam, meditation. Okay, that was 265. Questions? Yeah, somebody raised the hand. Okay, Kalidas, okay, left the meeting. Very good. Right, Shubhashni ma'am, you raised your hand.
Sir, what do you actually mean by telling intellectually dissolving into Brahman and not physically?
Yeah, you cannot dissolve the world physically. Okay, that's not possible. Okay, the world is so vast. But what you must understand is that there is no world separate from Brahman. Now, once you realize that there is no world separate from Brahman, the advantage is that you will not feel threatened by anything and you will not be unnecessarily tempted by anything. Because Brahman, as I said, Brahman is not some third entity sitting somewhere. Brahman is ultimately your, my, and everybody else's real nature, essential nature. And we are all going about in this world because we don't know the truth. So we think we are separate from the world, and we feel threatened by the world. So we get into all this raga dvesha problems. We get attracted to something, we get repelled by something. So all those things happen because there is an ignorance about our true nature, an ignorance about the true nature of others, and ignorance about the true nature of the world. Once you realize that everything is Brahman, there is no second entity other than Brahman, that actually puts to rest a lot of emotional turmoil. That is the so how do you dissolve the world in Brahman? It is like dissolving the pot into clay, or like dissolving the ornament into gold. You understand that there is no pot other than clay. You understand that there is no ornament other than gold. Similarly, you understand that there is no world apart from Brahman.
Okay. So, can we classify this into Chit and Achit and see, or you are mixing this together?
Okay. So this Chit Achit is a Vishishtadvaitam terminology. Okay. Now this is your, shall we say, guru shopping or literature shopping that you do. You read all sorts of books. So you come up with all these. Yeah. So
That's
Chit
okay, sir.
is essentially Vishishtadvaita terminology. And here we are in the Advaitic world. So in the Advaitic world, what we say is we begin with three entities. Similar to your Chit, Achit and Ishvara of the Visishta Advaitam, we have Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Jiva is Chit, Jagat is Achit, Ishvara is Ishvara. Okay.
Yeah.
And we then resolve this. We say the three actually is two. It is Atma and Anatma. Atma is the self and Anatma is the non-self. Okay. So you divide the three into two. You resolve the three into two. Atma and Anatma. And finally you say, really speaking, there is no Anatma separate from Atma. Anatma is just an illusion. There is really speaking no second entity other than Atma. So Anatma, really speaking, doesn't exist. It's a temporarily existing illusion. That is the essence of Advaitam.
Okay. So, okay. So you're not bringing the concept of Maya also here.
Well, Anatma is ultimately coming from Maya. You know, what is Anatma? Anatma is all material things.
Yeah, that's what I meant
All
actually
material
asking.
things, all material things eventually evolve from Maya. Okay.
Yeah.
But Maya cannot exist separate from Brahman because Maya cannot have an independent existence. So Maya is dependent on Brahman, so is Mithya. These are all second session, third session, fourth session issues.
Okay.
Yeah. So it may appear when you divide Atma and Anatma, it may appear there are two things. So you can say, how do you say there is Advaitam? We say it is Advaitam still because the Anatma that you are experiencing has no real independent existence. So it is, you know, it is like, again, I'll go to the dream experience. You have a dream. In the dream, you experience so many things, but the dream does not have an existence separate from the waker. So when you wake up, the dream disappears. Similarly, when you realize that everything is Brahman, the separateness of Maya goes away. That is how Advaitam is established.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Think about it. If you still have doubts, we can talk. Yes, sir. Bharadwaj, please unmute.
Hello, sir. I had a question. Thank you for addressing. I don't know if you already discussed about this in the previous sessions, but it's kind of a basic question. So we are talking about consciousness here, or human consciousness. But in creation, there are also creatures with lower levels of consciousness, like animals. And even we take humans, there are people with some disabilities who might have lower consciousness, levels of consciousness. How do we know if our human consciousness that we possess, normally functioning human beings, is the most superior, or the end goal, so to say, is the most superior form of consciousness? Or is there something else in the universe, for example outer space creatures, which might have some extended consciousness, which we have to try and get until, I mean, upon getting that, we can try to do this intellectually dissolving the creation into Brahman kind of thing, because it seems very impossible for normal layman people, so to say.
What is the basis or pramanam for whatever you said? Where did you get all these ideas from?
Just intellectually questioning myself about our philosophies.
Okay.
I've read about this as well as the Vishishtadvaitam a little bit. So just a question.
Okay. So you are basically coming from the Visishtadvaitic approach.
Yeah. No, sir. I mean, in this perspective, I'm asking only regarding Advaita approach.
Okay.
Not the Vishishtadvaita.
You mentioned something like lower consciousness and higher consciousness and all that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that is a scientific perspective, sir. I mean, I'm just speaking about like
we don't accept the scientific perspective, because in the modern science, consciousness is supposed to be a product of your mind or a product of your brain, to be precise. Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah.
Yes.
We don't accept that. We say that consciousness is fundamental, and there is no such thing called lower consciousness or higher consciousness. There is only one
Okay.
consciousness. There is only one single consciousness without any change. Okay.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
called avyayam or nirvikalpam. We have all those words. And the individual consciousness that you talk about, the animals having a consciousness and insects having a consciousness, those are all what we call a reflected consciousness. Okay, so we do talk about two levels of consciousness. So we say there is one original consciousness which is all pervading. In fact, even the word all pervading is wrong, because when you say all pervading, it somehow gives you the impression that it is pervading all over space. But really speaking, the space exists in consciousness. So in Advaitam, we completely reverse the whole framework, or reverse the whole structure. Consciousness
Not audible, sir.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I only?
For me also not audible.
Yeah, I think the voice went.
Okay. Am I back? Are you
Yeah.
able to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is consciousness is beyond space and space and time exist within consciousness, and the individual consciousness that we all experience as a limited entity is actually a reflection of the original consciousness in our mind.
Okay.
Okay, that reflected consciousness has gradations. So the reflection in a very highly sattvic jiva, like the devas, will be very shining and very bright, whereas the reflection in the human mind is probably a little dim or dull. And the reflection found in the mind of an insect is probably very, very dull. So there are gradations in the reflected consciousness. But the original consciousness, which is what we call Brahman or Chaitanyam, has no gradations. Okay, so I will share the link for all the previous recordings, and I suggest you go through the session 1 to 23 patiently. Each session is about 1 hour, so you need about 23 hours to listen to all the things. And in fact, the teaching, the essential teaching is only for the first 10 sessions. After that, it was a lot of question and answers. So if you cover the first 10 sessions, you get everything in terms of the foundation. And then you can come back with your questions after you have gone through those 10 sessions, and the question and answer sessions are optional.
Okay. Okay,
But
sir. Yeah.
if you go through the question and answer sessions, you probably will have a lot of other questions answered, because you probably have many of those questions which came up in the Q&A sessions.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah. Surely will do that.
Okay, so can we go on to the next sloka? Any more questions from anyone? Yeah, then we'll go to 266. Buddhau guhayam sadasat vilakshanam brahmasti satyam paramadvitiyam tadatmana yotra vased guhayam punarna tasyanga guha praveshah. Buddhau guhayam sadasat vilakshanam brahmasti satyam paramadvitiyam tadatmana yotra vased guhayam punarna tasyanga guha praveshah. So Buddhau means in the intellect, in the mind. Guhayam. The word guha means a cave. And here the buddhi or intellect is compared to a cave. Why is that so? Because generally the cave is a very dark place. Some caves are very, very deep, and so there is very little chance of light entering the cave. If at all there is some sunlight, it will come for the first few meters of the cave, and then once you walk into the cave more and more deep, it will become darker and darker and darker. Similarly, our mind is also dark in the sense it is covered with ignorance. Intellect is our primary investment in this janma or in this creation is in ignorance. We are all ignorant about ourself to begin with. What is our true nature? We don't know. That is the basic ignorance. It is called Moola Avidya, Moola Vidya. Okay. So, in that buddhi, the consciousness is experienced. Because even though the whole body is conscious, you can pinch yourself anywhere and you will feel the pinch. That means you are aware of the pinch. But the pinch becomes aware, or you become aware of the pinch only when you are paying attention. If your mind is not, if your mind is not present at that stage, let's say you are distracted in some other work and some ant is biting you. For a few minutes, you won't even realize that an ant is biting. You will start noticing it only when the pain becomes very big and you suddenly realize you have some pain. So the mind is where the consciousness ultimately stops. It is the ultimate point where you have the awareness. So which is why we say the buddhi is the seat of the consciousness. The mind, buddhi, they are all one entity. Yeah. So the mind is where the consciousness is seated, and that consciousness is sad asad vilakshanam. So the word sat and asat means, the word sat means that which is manifest or that which is perceptible, and asat means that which is imperceptible or unmanifest. Okay, vilakshanam means different from. So the consciousness is neither perceptible nor imperceptible. It is beyond both. It is different from both. What is this? How can it be different from both? Because you only understand that something can be perceptible or something can be imperceptible. You can't have some third entity. The point we are saying is that you perceive something or that you perceive the absence of something are both enabled by your consciousness. When you say something is imperceptible, what does it mean? It means you are experiencing the absence of any perception. Yeah, please think about this. When you perceive something, the object is right in front of you. When something is imperceptible, you can say that you are experiencing the absence of perception. Okay. For instance, we say the space is imperceptible. Can you touch space? You cannot touch space. Even though space is everywhere, you cannot touch and feel space. So space, even though it is existent, is imperceptible. And you are able to talk about the imperceptibility of the space because of your consciousness. So the consciousness is neither perceptible nor imperceptible. It is other than both. That is the meaning of Tadasat Vilakshanam. Then Brahmasti Satyam Paramadvitiyam. In that intellect, that Brahman, which is Sadasat Vilakshanam, is present. Asti means it is present. It is available for experience. So when you say I am aware of this or that, it is essentially the consciousness in your mind that enables you to say that. That is Brahma Asti. That Brahma is Sadasat Vilakshanam. That Brahma is Param. That Brahma is Advitiyam. So Param is supreme. That is which is beyond everything. superlative. Advitiyam is one without a second. Then tad atmana yotra vased guhayam. Tad atmana here means by anchoring that knowledge and by always focusing on that Brahman in your Chaitanyam, that means by identifying yourself as Brahma Swarupam. That's what it means. Tad Atmana Yotra Vaset. Vaset means one who lives. One who lives. Guhayam. Guhayam means not practically in a cave. This Guha refers to the mind. So when you harbor the Brahman thought continuously in your mind, like I said, the Tampura Shruti of a musician, that Aham Brahmasmi knowledge must be always in the back of your mind. Live in that state, and that is what we call Nididhyasana. And you probably may ask me, how is it possible to always keep thinking about Aham Brahmasmi when I have to deal with so many people and have so many transactions in this world? That is the, shall we say, expertise or the skill that one acquires by practicing Nididhyasanam over a long period of time. So you dedicate, say, 5, 10, 15 minutes every day to sit quietly and do some Nididhyasanam. And the more comfortable you are able to do this for longer and longer period, you will realize at some point that you really don't need to sit specifically for that meditation, but you are able to quickly get into that mode even when you are traveling in a train or in a tram, or when you are busy cooking or doing whatever work. So that Tamra Shruti of Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, can eventually become a habit. You have practiced Nididhyasanam over a significant length of time. That is what is here. Atra vaset guhayam. That Atmana vaset guhayam means by anchoring that Aham Brahmasmi thought in your mind, Punarna tasyanga guha praveshaha. That person will never have to enter this cave called body. That fine in the fourth line refers to the body, birth. You will not be required to take one more janma in any other body. Punaha means again. Guha praveshaha means entry into the cave called body. Tasya means for him. Anga guha, that anga guha means body. Anga means body. Normally we say anga is a part of the body, but here the word anga is used in the sense of the body itself. So such a person who is able to harbor Brahman related thoughts naturally, habitually through Nididhyasanam will not have to take one more birth in this world or in any world, because we talk about 14 lokas. So you will not be born in any of the 14 lokas. You become Brahman itself because you are ultimately Brahman. Yeah. Okay. So that is 266. I think we have crossed our 9 o'clock limit. So I don't want to do any more shlokas, but I'm open to question answer discussions if people have questions. Open session. Yes, ma'am. Chitra, please unmute.
Yeah, as this is the first session, so it's a first session for me, so it's not easy to perceive everything. But yeah, as the way you pointed out the last point, regards to the brain, regards to the cave, something like that. So as you said, if a person is doing meditation, Brahman, thinking Brahman himself, and his karma, but based on the karma only, it is decided, the birth is decided. So that much power you bring into yourself if you do the Brahman meditation is what you meant. What I understood.
Okay. Now that karma is applicable for ajnanis. Okay,
Okay.
now to understand the answer, you probably need the foundations of the first 9 to 10 lectures. So again, my request,
Okay.
please take the time to go through the first 9, 10 sessions and understand the concept. So the karma theory that we talk about
Mm.
is a temporary answer to explain certain things, like why are we born, why do we
Mm-hmm.
go through these experiences and all that, until you come to Vedanta. Okay, that's a provisional answer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, again, this is a clear Advaitic approach. If you go to Visishtadvaitam or Dvaitam lectures, they will tell you completely different things. Okay,
Okay.
so if you are coming from a Dvaitam background or a Visishtadvaitam background, you will find this to be strange or unbelievable and all those things. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is the Shankaracharya or the Guru Parampara in which Shankaracharya came. That is the Advaita Parampara, which gives interpretation. So once you understand that I am none other than Brahman, at that point the Jiva is supposed to become a Jnani. When the Jiva becomes Jnani, a few things happen to your karma. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
karma has 3 divisions. If you are aware of the 3 divisions, there is a Sanchita karma,
Yeah, yeah.
there is a Prarabdha karma, and there is an Agami karma. Are you aware of these 3
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
notations? So the Sanchita karma is that huge bundle of karma from which your subsequent one after the other janmas are created, and a small piece of that Sanchita karma becomes a Prarabdha which begins one of your janmas.
Mm.
And that janma will continue until that Prarabdha is completely exhausted. And once that Prarabdha gets exhausted, that janma comes to an end. And then you have to go to the next janma, which will be created by the next set of Prarabdha. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And any karma that you do within a given janma, if it does not fructify into karma phalam within the same janma, it gets transferred to your future janma. It is called agami karma. And then
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the present janma, that agami will get added to sanchita karma. So it's like a feedback loop.
Mm. Correct. Yeah.
So this is the way the sanchita karma is never reducing. It will always be at the same level or even increasing. Okay.
Mm.
This is all applicable for a ajnani, one who has not come to Vedanta,
Ah,
one
okay,
who has
okay.
not understood the Tat Aham Brahmasmi teaching.
Mm, okay.
Once you have understood the Aham Brahmasmi teaching, the entire Sanchita karma gets destroyed. The
Okay, all right.
entire Sanchita karma gets destroyed and Agami is avoided.
Mm, okay.
Agami is avoided because Agami is something that is created in the current Janma by the actions in the current Janma.
Do you mean to say the future birth is avoided? That's what I mean.
Agami is not there, Sanchita is totally burnt. What is left is only the Prarabdha.
Mm,
So the Jnani will continue to live in this body until the Prarabdha gets exhausted.
okay.
And this state of the Jnani is called Jivan Mukti. And Advaita is the only school that, teaches Jivan Mukti. Dvaitam, Visishta Advaitam, no other school accepts Jivan Mukti. In fact, Dvaitam, Visishta Advaitam don't even accept a Nirgunam Brahma. They always talk only about Sagunam Brahma. That is, Maya and Brahman are always together. For them, Maya and Brahman cannot be even intellectually separated. Is the only school that says there is a Nirgunam Brahman, there is a Maya, but that Maya has a lesser reality than Brahman. Okay, so
Okay.
all these fundamentals you will probably get in the first 10 lectures. Please take the time,
Yeah.
go through them, understand the fundamentals, and then hopefully you will continue to come for the future sessions. And I hope you won't be one of the dropout statistics, and we will talk further. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So initially we
Thank
had
you
some
so much.
15 people in this session, and there has been a lot
Mm.
of dropout. I would like to see people who don't belong to the dropout statistics, who belong to the continuing statistics.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Anyone else?
I
Incidentally,
had one from the previous.
yeah.
Sorry,
Tell
sir.
me, ma'am.
I had one from the previous lecture about Shara Akshara,
Mm.
the destructible and non-destructible. But I think partially I got the answer even now when we're talking about this.
Yeah. So the Kshara Akshara is actually explained in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You know,
Mm.
Dvavimau Purushau Loke Ksharaschakshara Evacha Ksharas Sarvani Bhutani Kutasthokkshara Uchyate.
Kutasthoksara uchyate.
Yeah. So the entire world is called Kshara Purusha because it is subject to destruction. And Maya is called Akshara Purusha because Maya cannot be destroyed. And Uttama Purusha is the Brahman or Chaitanyam, which is beyond both. That is the Ksharam. You know, there is a shloka in 260 or 259. It says Kshara Vilakshanam. I think you're coming from there. Yeah.
Mm. Exactly, sir.
Sat Yat Kshara Vilakshanam Swayam or something. I'll find out where it comes. Yeah, that is 261 second line. Yeah, Yat Kshara Vilakshanam Param, that comes in 261. So that is the reference to 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
Mm.
Yes, how many of you were actually part of the Srimad Bhagavatam Saptaham that Sri Dushyant Sridhar had conducted? Rahul was there, I know. Rahul, I know you were part of the volunteering team. I don't need you to answer. Bharadwaj, okay.
We came, sir.
Okay. So Bharadwaj, where do you live actually?
I live near Düsseldorf in Essen, sir.
You had come all the way from Düsseldorf, is it? Okay.
Yes, sir. Only for 2 days.
Oh, okay. You also part of the Parayanam group by chance?
I am in the group, sir. Yes.
Okay. Because somebody from Düsseldorf had sent me a message. I don't know if that was you, because the
No,
name was
sir.
not Bharadwaj. It was some
Yeah,
Sri.
no, sir. It was
Not you, no?
no,
Okay.
no, sir. Not me.
Okay. Great. So only 2 people are from Saptaham group. Wonderful. Yeah. If there are no further questions, I think we can close today's session. Is that okay? Harini ji, you raised your hand or what? You have a question?
No, sir. I came and attended the Sri Bhagavatam Satsangam, and then only I joined in Parayanam Frankfurt group.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Do you live in Frankfurt or somewhere else?
No, I'm from Noise.
Sorry, Neuss. That's also near
Noise.
Düsseldorf. Okay.
Yeah.
Neuss, no?
Neuss.
Neuss. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Nice. So, yeah, really appreciate that people have come from faraway places to attend the Saptaham. That's really very good. So, thank you. We will close today's call. We have a few chanting shloka prayers to close. We'll chant and close. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Sarvesham Swastirбhavatu Sarvesham Shanti Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvepi Sukhinas Santu Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. Thank you. We'll meet next Tuesday. Namaste.
Namaste,
Thank
धन्यवाद.
you.
Thank you.
Dhanyawad.
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste, sir.
Thank you.